Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host KWCEs, and with me today I have Fat Bacon Unicorn, GVR, and Nagoda. And today we will be going over KWCE number 23, Godzilla 2003 vs. Kamoebas Millennium by Soul Godzilla. A harsh storm brewed during the evening of the vast seas of the Pacific Ocean, where not a single trace of the sky was seen above the shrouding thunderclouds. The waves were raging on. In the depths of the seas, however, a huge creature was lurking through the depths. Repeating the word depths there is never a good thing. Scaring away most alpha predators at the deep. A giant octopus was swimming only a few meters below the surface of his watery kingdom, looking for any wandering whales to feed on. This massive cephalopod had been last seen twice by human eyes in several decades. One of them was his fight with the carnivorous green gargantua Gyra in the 1960s. The giant octopus kept moving on, with no other predatory creature daring themselves to even go in for the attack. Out of nowhere, a large body rammed into the multi-limbed mollusk. Sharp claws and teeth started to cut through the soft skin. The giant octopus desperately wrapped his tentacles around his attacker, a creature like that of a giant turtle. You mean Gamera? Anyway, the cephalopod's limbs constricted around the reptile's neck and began to pull him in where his beak would snip the attacker. The giant octopus writhed in pain, trying to squeeze the turtle's neck in a desperate bid for freedom. The turtle kept tearing through his prey's flesh with ease, ignoring the weakening grip of the giant cephalopod. He clamped his mouth around the beak and reared his head, tearing the beak out and spitting it away. The terrapin dipped his head in and chewed on the inner flesh. The giant octopus was dead in minutes, blue blood clouding the water as the turtle fed.
And
Much like the
first giant octopus lost without even being mentioned in the match.
Yeah.
Oh,
Winner, Kamoebas.
oh man, he killed the asylum monster. Good for him.
Much like the now deceased giant octopus, this huge turtle was discovered by humanity a long time ago. At one point called Megalomatamata, a name appointed by Dr. Mio when he first spotted it almost 2 decades ago. The general populace and the Japanese government usually went with a different name given, Kamoebas. Alone with his easily earned meal, Kamoebas began to eat the giant octopus, tearing one hunk of flesh after another. He tore off one of the tentacles and chewed it, taking his time as scraps of flesh and blood sank deeper where predatory fish were drawn to it. Pass.
One huge chunk of flesh found itself on the sea floor, where its trail of blood was then picked up by another giant. A pair of eyes stared at the chewed-up limb. As a burst of bubbles were snorted out of his reptilian nostrils, nearby sea life scattered away from the Leviathan's presence as he pulled himself out of the dirt that buried him in the sea floor. Following the scent of blood, it led him to Kamoebas. Of no hesitation, the charcoal behemoth moved in to tackle the feeding turtle. The impact forced Kamoebas to regurgitate the octopus's organs in his throat as a silent shriek burst out of the turtle's mouth in the form of bubbles. The momentum behind the attack sent Kamoebas skyward and erupted out of the ocean's surface. The water started to wave as the how do you say that first one?
Megalo,
okay. Mata watched as his ambusher rise out of the ocean. Large silver dorsal spines tore the surface apart, with the Leviathan layered of charcoal gray scales and sporting a huge wound on his chest that was still healing. Godzilla locked eyes with the giant creature. Godzilla's dorsal spines flickered with blue light, discharging an atomic ray that struck Kamoebas' spiked carapace. The Megalomatamata screeched when the atomic beam washed upon him. With his rocky carapace buffering most of the force behind the beam, Kamoebas shrieked a warning to Godzilla to leave him to eat in peace. Godzilla only roared back at the turtle. He had no intentions of being merciful to anyone who entered his territory. Godzilla swam closer to Kamoebas, ignoring the intruder's shrieks. Kamoebas extended his neck as a retaliatory response, ramming his head against the saurian's belly. Godzilla grunted as the force of the turtle's headbutt was stronger than he thought it would be. The Monster King lashed out in response with his claws, but the Megalomata pulled his head back to avoid the slash. Kamoebas raised his body to bring his sturdy forearms down on Godzilla's wounded chest. The naturally jagged body of Kamoebas slashed the softer tissue, drawing blood. The irradiated dinosaur shoved Kamoebas off, with the large terrapin flipped on its back. He hunched over and the ocean's surface erupted when Godzilla's tail rose up, slamming into the sea turtle's soft, defenseless chest. Pass.
Hold on, give me a second. Kamoebas shrieked from the impact as he fell into the waving ocean. Luckily for him, he was able to flip back up and propel himself toward Godzilla. The irradiated dinosaur roared in pain as Kamoebas' sharp teeth tore into his thigh. Godzilla's tail lashed out, whipping on the turtle's stomach and forced him to release his leg. Godzilla got hold of Kamoebas from the side and dragged him back down to the depths. The Megalomata model lifted his body up to push Godzilla away from him. Kamoebas turned around and angrily yelled a muffled screech at Godzilla, soaring through the rough, crashing waves and colliding with Godzilla. The two giant reptilians struggled with one another, tossing and turning amidst the churning waves. The storm worsened above them as their struggle escalated. Godzilla gripped the turtle tightly, trying to use his mighty strength to heave the turtle on his back, but Kamoebas was deceptively heavier than he had originally anticipated. The turtle zeroed in on the still fresh scar on the king's chest and jutted his head out with his teeth primed. Godzilla howled in frustration when the Megalomata snapped at his scar, digging his claws into the turtle's face to keep him at bay. Godzilla grunted in pain when Kamoebas latched onto his arm with his teeth as the turtle's weight dragged them both down into the ocean's depths. With a roar of fury, Godzilla caught Kamoebas' neck in his grasp and sunk his sharp claws through his flesh. Kamoebas released Godzilla and gasped for breath, struggling to break free from the saurian's grasp. Godzilla growled, ripping his claws out of the turtle's neck. Kamoebas shrieked in agony when a cloud of his blood came out of the slits on his neck, breaking the surface of the water for air. Godzilla rose from the violent waters, snarling as he moved closer to the bleeding turtle. Tired and enraged, Kamoebas rose up to his full height to make one last attack on Godzilla. Blue lights flickered from Godzilla's dorsal spines, and the irradiated monster spewed an atomic ray at Kamoebas' chest. The beam of radioactive energy, although softened from being used underwater, slammed into the terrapin's chest and pushed his body down into the abyss. Kamoebas gave a muted groan when he slammed into the seafloor, wheezing painfully as he vomited a conglomeration of bubbles. Kamoebas reoriented himself and began swimming as fast as he could towards the shore, desperately attempting to escape. Pass.
Oh, yeah. Godzilla roared loudly in the air as lightning burst from the skies, crackling across the skies as to herald his victory. The king of the monsters dove back into the raging waters, panting a bit. While the fight was quick, he was nowhere near his full strength. He'd have to rest even longer to heal his wounds fully. Hours later, Kamoebas dragged his weak body to the beach of Japan's eastern coast. A trail of his own blood smeared across the sand from the water. The dying turtle slumped to the sands, breathing heavily. Just getting here took so much of his energy. The storm had died down, and the ocean's gentle waves swept across any traces of the giant turtle's blood. Seagulls flew above him and cried out, with a few perching on his sturdy carapace. Knowing he was going to be dead, Kamoebas closed his eyes to enjoy his last moments in the sun. His lifeless body was soon discovered by nearby civilians the next day, which brought the attention of news reporters and the Japanese Xenomorph Self-Defense Force. Everyone knew what could have killed this giant creature, and a sense of dread washed over Japan upon the realization. Godzilla. Winner, Godzilla 2003. Also, the Xenomorph Self-Defense Force.
Yep.
Is it really called that?
Yes, it's really called that.
Huh.
Yeah, it's true, because, I mean, like,
at least we know they're prepared for aliens.
They're prepared for James Cameron's Aliens, so. And Ridley Scott's Alien. They're prepared.
Well, they're fucked.
Nevertheless, though, yeah, no.
Are you versus the Xenomorph Queen?
Yeah, right. No, this is an interesting little match. I like the idea and the route it took in making it like sort of like an interquel match, like the fight we never got to see. That is kind of, like, even if you know the outcome by default, it is still neat to see an interpretation of that. I also like the way it sort of like balanced it out. It's like obviously weakened Godzilla, who had to deal with Kiryu, still fresh, and it was like, okay, I need to wait a little while longer. And then how the two sort of vied for supremacy. I think all things considered, for as quick as it was, I think Kamoebas put up a decent fight. So, that's about my thoughts on it. So. Bacon, what'd you think of it?
Nice little match. I really don't know what else to say. You said what I feel like I would have said. It's nice to see that this fight actually went down. It's a nice interpretation of it. That's all I gotta say.
All right. GPR, what'd you think?
Nice little match. I do like how it interprets a canon event. And I like how it actually has Kamoebas put up a decent fight. Yeah, good stuff. The issues with, like, grammar get a bit off-putting.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, okay stuff.
Nagoda, what'd you think of it?
This was fun. We get a background match to show what happened before the start of Tokyo SOS, where they discovered Kamoebas' body. Plus, giant octopus shows up.
So, anything else, man, or anything else?
Wait, this came out during August, right?
Did it? August 2018? Maybe? Because
Oh
August
yeah, there
was
we go.
2018.
Yeah, there we go. I see your comment down there. Coincidentally released during August.
No kidding. Yeah, look, I forgot about that. I'm glad my 2018 self was smart enough to make mention of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
2018 Kaiju X.
This was a
I'm not
long
going to
time
punch you in the face, so you're good. Anyway, yeah. Anything else? I heard someone trying to say something.
No, I got nothing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, with that said, this has been KWCE number 23, and we'll see you guys next time for KWCE number 24, which is the start of a little something special. Until then, see you guys later.
Bye.